Good morning. Welcome. We will give everybody just a minute to get logged on. I would love for you to turn on your cameras. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. I don't think we have a big group today. And so I would love to see your faces. I know sometimes you're multitasking. I'm notorious for doing that too. And then I definitely want my camera off. But feel free to unmute. There's also the chat box. So you are welcome to put any comments in the chat box as we go along. I'll do my best to keep an eye on them as I am presenting. Glad you are here. So today is all about Perspectives, the art curriculum that is brand new at Nasco. We have partnered with art class curator, and I am so proud of this curriculum. We're focusing on the Perspectives, which was designed for Art 101, so really 9 through 12th grade. However, it very easily can be adapted to middle school. So if you are a middle school teacher, I would love to know that. So feel free to type in where you're from and what you teach, because I want to make sure to address any middle school teachers that I have on, but I think you'll see sort of the gist. But today is a real focus on the social awareness portion of Perspectives, because it's been out now for about 6 months. And as we continue to do introductions of it, we know that some of you, this might be the first time you're seeing it. So we want to give you both an overview, but we also want to make sure that we're showing all of the diversity and the variety that comes with Perspectives. So great, Kelly, you are middle school. So middle school, you really have some choices in terms of World Mosaic, which is the elementary curriculum, and Perspectives, the high school curriculum. And you'll see how it's easily adapted, and then you can choose. So with that, I am Chris Bakke. I'm the customer engagement manager for art and literacy at Nasco. And this has really been my focus, and quite honestly, my passion and my joy to share with you. I love the fact that this curriculum is elevating art education and showing how it is an absolute connection and support to the whole school. So again, I'd love for this to be interactive, so it is okay to unmute and ask a question, or throw the question in the chat if you're more comfortable, and we'll just get moving. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm always a little awkward at this, mostly because I'm spoiled, and Andy, our director, producer, always is in charge and does a much better job than I do. But I got it. So Art Class Curator is our vendor partner who wrote the curriculum for Perspectives. They are the experts. They have used some of their tried and true activities. And this is content and style and teaching methods that work. We're focusing a little bit today on the SEL part, and specifically on social awareness. And I love this quote from Dennison Hulson. He is the Chief Creative Officer at NAEA. And basically he said, art is the place to build communities of social and emotional learning. And the fact that you have the opportunity to support the entire school, but it shouldn't be all on you. And when I first started hearing about social emotional learning, I'm like, oh my gosh, in the 17 years that I've worked at Nasco, this has always been done in the classroom. And so this curriculum really marries up to that, and it's fabulous. So if you're not aware of the 5 core competencies as developed and defined by CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, they are self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. The descriptions that are under these are not the definitions. They are the link to the art curriculum and showing how a quick definition of how it matches. Today, we're really just going to focus on social awareness. And this is taken right from CASEL's website. And CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And so if you go to casel.org, you will get an enormous amount of content and information. It's a great link and a great tool. So social awareness is the abilities to understand the perspectives of and empathize with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and contexts. Perspectives, the curriculum does exactly that. And this is a beautiful slide that shows artists and art that are in the perspectives curriculum. What I love is just in looking at this, it's like a poster of diversity. And it's somewhat of a sensitive topic, probably now more than ever based on, our last year and the pandemic and all of the things that have gone on. And so there is some concern about how to talk about it and how to, and if we should, and how we can, and in some cases, legally, can we? I think that you're going to see that perspectives is about diversity and cultures and people and places, but it's taught in a way that is about humanities and history and world geography. And so it isn't specifically anti-racism. It is art connections, art history, and creating art, and the history and the people, and the fact that it's a wide variety of people makes it fabulous, because now all students are able to connect and understand and learn. So I love that slide. Oops, how did I go backwards, Chris? So here is perspectives in a quick nutshell. There's 10 unit themes, and it is a full year of curriculum. So if you take it, I say out of the box, but it's delivered to you digitally. But if you take it and go through all 10 of these units, you will complete a year of art education, and you will also complete all of the National Art Education Association, all of the National Art Standards. And so, so the core standards are there. If you want the specifics for your state, we can get those as well. The art class curator folks have been working diligently to make sure that the content matches each state's curriculum as well, but they do match the national art standards. There's 10 thematic units. So they are why art matters, sketchbooks, what artists see, human experience, identity, community, the natural world, cultures, communications, and the power of voice. You don't have to do them in order. They're a little bit sequential, particularly in the sense of why art matters in sketchbooks and what the artist sees. That sort of builds the foundation. However, they're so adaptable that you are able to sort of fit it into to make it work for you. And that to me is the beauty of this, because art teachers are creative. You've already got some things set in place. You probably have some things that your school or school district wants you to do. And so to be able to manipulate this to make it your own is what's going to really be phenomenal about it. And I'm excited as teachers start to use it, I'm excited to see how they implement these things. So as we continue to talk about social awareness, again, I want to give you an idea of what you get with the curriculum and how it applies. So here is the foundation for how you teach it. There's curated content and 2 anchor artworks for every single unit. There's discussion that's going to happen and engagement, which is going to include the hands-on art. And then the extend is also similar to reflect in the younger grades in terms of what are you going to do with it? And that part is really, I like how this takes it full circle and gives students an opportunity to say, this is stuff that is life applicable as well. So you can see there's 10 units, there's over 150 artwork. It's got both direct and choice-based art, tons of worksheets and handouts, over 140, and then there's 17 countries or cultures that are represented. So from the human experience unit, here's what the entire lesson plan looks like. So when I typically think of a lesson plan, I think of the how to create something. That's when Nasco shares lots of lesson plans, and this this curriculum is delivered on a platform of Nasco's that also includes hundreds of additional lesson plans for you to use. So our lesson plans are really, here's how to make something and the objective and the materials and all that kind of stuff. In Art Class Curator, a true curriculum lesson plan is going to give you everything that you need for this unit. So it is going to talk about the art making, but it is also going to talk about the art and the artist and the vocabulary and the activities that you are going to do throughout this. Again, that is going to, you're welcome to deviate, you're welcome to, manipulate it in any way, but this is how it is laid out so that you don't have to, so that you can just take it and plug it in and make it work. And they're all done really nicely in terms of visually. There's a PowerPoint that comes with each unit as well. This one happens to be on connecting to cultures. And so the PowerPoint is going to show the objectives and then give some of the activities that are in there. It's always going to have the map showing where the artist is from, where the art is from, and maybe even where the art lives. Sometimes it was created somewhere, but it now lives in New York City at, MoMA. So you always get that perspective of like a worldly perspective, which I think is fabulous. My brain didn't really think worldly until way after high school. And I think something like this would have definitely helped me out. Here's some sample engagement activities, and I won't read through all of them, but these are going to be cross-curricular, social emotional learning, physical, like there's times where you actually have the students stand in the way that somebody in the art is standing. And so it just is a ton of different ways to get students engaged, talking about the art, thinking critically, and putting it all together, all while they are also thinking about how they're going to create their piece. So again, how you weave in the actual art making becomes up to you. This I put up because all of the units have a discussion guide. So this has a discussion guide and then also an activity, and I wanted to show both of them. And so the discussion guide is going to help you as the teacher discuss the anchor artwork. You may decide, boy, I don't think this piece of art fits where I'm headed or what we're doing, or in any way, shape, or form, if you feel like it is putting somebody in an uncomfortable position, if you feel like the art might have there's no nudity ever in the art, so you don't have to worry about that. But some of the art in the perspectives might be a little controversial, might show a little bit of violence because of the history of the piece of art. Nothing gruesome that is any worse than a video game out there or anything like that. But again, if you feel like that's, we have a no violence policy at school, and so I'm not going to show that, there's lots of resources that are included on the lesson plan, in addition to just the art, that you can pick from there, or you can insert a piece of art that you want. So lots of opportunities to discuss. And the great news is that then you create a safe environment. And so when somebody connects to this piece of art and maybe can add to it. And I think that discussion that we have around social awareness often starts with a piece of art or something that we've seen on TV or a celebrity that we know. But within our own communities and within our own organizations, whether it's, here at Nasco or in your school, everybody has a story. Everybody has something to talk about and share. And the interesting thing is we see a picture and often form a judgment, and it's not necessarily a negative judgment. It's just, what you know, so you see something and assume it based on what you know. This provides an opportunity for you to learn. It's similar to talking about how and if you celebrate a holiday. 4th of July, people celebrate that all over the place. And yet in the United States, it's an actual holiday. Somewhere else, it's not. So if you have a student that is from Mexico or Canada, and I just picked those because they're our neighbor to our north and south, they might not understand 4th of July the way that somebody that was born in the United States does. So just great conversations. And quite honestly, think about your own families. Not everybody in your own family is exactly the same. So I think these opportunities for discussion are immense. This kind of shares to how another way of discussing and exploring the art. In the first picture, it is Jean Quictessy's piece of artwork. And so you get to start off by asking sort of open-ended questions. You can add the social emotional learning in there by, how does the art make you feel? And maybe you've shared the artist, maybe you've shared what the piece of art is all about, and then you can discuss further there. The visual analysis is really looking at it. And this, quite honestly, is something that I have just learned since January, really talking about the curriculum and how to look at art. I now want to go back to an art museum because I think I will look at art differently. And when you stop and spend time to truly look at that piece and see that there's actual figures that are around the cloak, and that there's hands in there, and the colors that are being used, and the background, and what does that mean to you? And I love that Cindy Ingram, who is the CEO of Art Class Curator and the founder, she made a statement early on, and she has partnered on a couple of these webinars that are fabulous as well. So if you want an early one, let me know. I'd be happy to share it with you. But she said that when you let the student know that the viewer's voice matters as much as the artist's voice, it really empowers the student. And it's true, because I'm the kind of student that looks at something and the teacher's telling me about it. And so that becomes sort of the authority. But when I get a voice in it, that feels really good. That feels like I matter. And so that's that piece of social emotional learning, that sort of self-awareness, but it partners right up with the social awareness. We need to learn about ourselves, and we need to learn about others. And it doesn't mean that every single thing that we see, we have to adopt as our own or agree with, but how do we learn how to empathize with and understand and agree not to agree sometimes. And so it's really a great way to build those healthy relationships, which again is a social emotional learning core competency. The second piece in there, the puzzles about art, there are several different puzzles about art and situations. So you give the students a situation. This can be done individually, but it's also recommended to do it as a group. So you have the groups and they get to see the situation. And in this case, I'll give you a quick synopsis. It was a zoo, and the zookeeper set up an easel, a canvas, and the palette and the brushes, and let a chimp paint. And this is what the chimp painted. And I think Congo did a really good job. I kind of actually like this piece. So the question becomes, is it art? Or questions, I should say, is it art? Who is the artist? And having those conversations. And students really appreciate being able to say what they think and back it up with reasons they think it, based on what they see in the art, or perhaps based on what they know about the time period or whatever the case may be. And it's just a really good opportunity, again, for collaboration and communication. And quite honestly, like, these are life skills, because there's times at work where students are going to be in a group situation and will have to participate and have to back up what they're saying. And so you are teaching them stuff they're going to be able to use, whether they go right to college or whether they go right to work. And I think that is fabulous in terms of how that relates to the whole student and their achievement within school. Nobody has any questions? I don't see anybody putting any comments in or anything like that. You're making me real nervous. Please feel free. Otherwise, I am going to just think that I'm completely engaging you. So this is just talking about the hands-on art. You are art teachers. We know that you teach art for a living and that you want to make stuff and students want to make stuff. There is all of that in here. In fact, there are some teachers that, and Cindy Ingram herself has said, sometimes she has actually started with the art. The sketchbook I brought up because that particular unit actually is all about making the art. It does connect it to the sketchbook and talks about an artist and shows some, some art where they've used the sketchbook, like you see in the lesson plan. But they make a sketchbook themselves. And so this sketchbook I actually made, and I'm not kidding you, I was real proud of it. It was really very satisfying to go from the start to the finish and have this actual physical functional piece of art. So that was kind of cool too. Plus the process was really fun. each of the lesson plans, as it applies to the art, will have the suggested materials, will have directions. And I giggle a little bit because the directions are written very art teacher like, because they're pretty generic sort of directions in which educated art teachers are going to do really well with it. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? What do I do now? But I was able to put the whole thing together by following the lesson plan. And also there's a video that comes with this particular unit, and that helped tremendously as well. But what I also did realize is that you are awesome, Greg. Thank you for telling me I'm doing good. You have no idea. I love that stuff. But there's also ways you can totally deviate from this. And so you can use cardboard, you can use cereal boxes to create the covers. They suggested some bookbinding tape for the binding. Actually, in the picture that you see, I used painter's tape, and that was a tip that Jennifer Easterling, who is the director of curriculum for art class curator and a former high school art teacher, and the person who actually wrote these lesson plans, said that she continues to add tips and suggestions, and that made it really easy as you were sewing. But it was, like I said, it was super fun. And now I think this comes in unit 2, sketchbooks. And now this sketchbook can be utilized throughout the classroom as well, which I think is fantastic. There's bonus stuff. So there is some, the word I'm looking for is professional development. There's a professional development on 4 steps on engaging discussion. And it's helpful because you're going to have that discussion in every single unit. There's tons of additional worksheets. So every unit is going to have worksheets in handouts. I shouldn't really call them worksheets, but handouts that go with, and a lot of them are going to utilize language arts and the writing skills that go with it. Some of them are going to be sort of like a drawing practice, and some of them are very discussional. So if you do end up in a virtual situation or a hybrid situation, the great part about this is these can be downloaded and printed off and given to somebody, so at least they have something at home. Or you can also put one of the lessons up on the screen like I have been doing, or the activities, and having that discussion in the Zoom situation. There's also the elements and principles printable pack that then you can put up in your school as well. So that is the curriculum sort of in a nutshell, and sort of that, a little bit of an emphasis on the social awareness part of it. It's housed on Nasco Educate. It is our Nasco online platform. That has a ton more stuff. I separate the 2 today because I want the focus to be on the curriculum that we're offering, that is the paid curriculum that you would be getting. But I really, truly recommend the opportunity to show you a much deeper dive, and specifically where you would go to get it and how you would click through it, and then how the Nasco stuff partners really well with the curriculum. So it's additional stuff that you can use, again, for a wide variety of uses. But all of, or I shouldn't say, but also all of Nasco's webinars. So this webinar will eventually go on to the platform. And so there's an entire PD library of resources that you can use for your professional development, provided that your school allows that type of PD. Hundreds of them, and not just in art. there's science and there's math and STEM and SEL and health and PE and a ton of art. So that's an additional value to that, along with any of the upcoming ones. And then again, all of the lesson plans that go with it. Perspectives curriculum is $1,000 for the subscription, and the subscription gives you the opportunity to use the artwork, the lesson plans, the resources, and it gives you the license to utilize the whole curriculum. Included in that price is Nasco Educate. So Nasco Educate's platform is usually $2,500 per school. And if that sounds upside down, like why would you charge more for that than you would for the curriculum? It's because the value of what's on Educate was based on the lesson plans and the webinars. And so a lesson plan, we work with art educators, and typically when an art educator creates a lesson plan for us, we pay them $250. So when you look at $250 times 100 or more lesson plans, that's a lot of value there. When you look at all of the professional development that you get, there's a lot of value there. So when a school would like just Educate, we're willing to give them a subscription to that. We would love to drive you to the additional curriculum because it's so valuable. And so we will give you the Educate at no charge with a $1,000 subscription. It has, all of the stuff that we have somewhat gone through in the presentation. And I am flying through this today. So I'm curious if you have any questions. Give you a minute. I would love to take some time to work with you in terms of showing you our Nasco education, our Nasco Educate platform. And when I do a demo on that, it also has the curriculum that I can take you through. So for those of you, Kelly and Greg, that are middle school teachers, it absolutely can be flexible depending on what you're looking for. So I'm happy to also show you World Mosaic, and that is done with K through 5 in mind, and it's actually even sorted out by K through 5. But because of the nature of the activities are really K2 senior citizen, because the discussion part of it is going to match the grade level and the intelligence of the student, regardless of the grade. And so that's how it makes it a little bit easier to manipulate. As it applies to the actual making of the art, yes, the kindergarten, you would have to enhance to bring up to a middle school level. And in the high school, you might want to, pare it down based on the tools that they're using or, the advanced technique. But it is truly really easy to do. Leslie, you can get the information from me, and I would encourage you to send me an email. It is on the screen right there, kbaki@nascoeducation.com. I have some really great tools. It's sometimes you will get a recording of this to watch or share with somebody else, but I know it's a lot to ask somebody to take, a half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour to watch a full webinar. So I do have like a little 5-minute, I think 5 or 6 minute handout that kind of flies through a few different slides that gives you an idea of what the overall program is. It has a really nice slide that talks about the benefits for students, teachers, and school district. So I would love to share that with you, or if you want to even schedule a time to physically be able to see that. And again, I'm not trying to hide anything by not taking you through the program here. I just don't want to take away from the overall view. And if you're interested, it's so much easier to do it on a one-on-one or on a school or school district basis. Other questions that you might have? You may end up getting a few minutes of your life back today, which is always good. I'm trying to think if I forgot something, because I feel like these usually go so much longer than they do. And then I get worried, but I have actually got, I have my notes and I've hit each point on my notes. So I think I'm just getting better at presenting these. While I still have you on, any other questions, anything that you would like me to go through in a little bit more detail or talk about? I'm curious though, because as long as I have you on the line, I would love to hear, is your school district looking for curriculum for back to school? Are you in the process of shopping for that? How does your back to school look? Are you going to be in person? Are you going to be virtual or hybrid? I'll wait a minute and see if you will type in your answer. Anyone? All right, well, I'm guessing you probably have a load. Oh, we got one. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm in the chat and not the questions. It just now came up, Greg. Sorry about that. So you will be in person with an option for at-home learning. I will tell you that, first of all, wow, that's hard for you and crazy. The nice part about some of these curriculums, both whether it's World Mosaic or Perspective, is you can print some stuff off and share it. You can put it in Google Classrooms and send it directly to the student as well. And Kelly, you're going back to pre-pandemic learning. Boy, isn't that a crazy thing? Who would have ever thought that there would be that phrase, pre-pandemic learning? So that's exciting. If you have other questions in terms of how to make it work, if you need individual kits, or if you need tips on furniture or things that Nasco can help you with, we have a lot of connections too. So if it's not something we do, we always have a great idea of who we can point you in for information on that. So we would love to help you in any way. I love to be a resource for teachers. I've worked at Nasco for 17 years, so I'm a gigantic fan of art educators, and I always enjoy to meet somebody new. So feel free to even email me if you have questions about lesson plans, or if you have a great idea you want to share, or if you want to hear more about the professional development we do. So with that, nobody seems to be too inquisitive today. So I'm going to hope that I did a really good job and you are well informed and have learned everything you need to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I look forward to hearing from you. Please keep coming back to our webinars and enjoy your summer.